by the way, the band sounds great today.
They do. Oh, man, they're right on. Thanks, Doc.
Yeah, they are. The band is tight today.
Yeah.
Tight today. All right, we got some special guests here today. I'm Hase. Here's Fletch. There's another Fletch. And there's a Flug.
Fantastic.
So we got Hase, Fletch, and Flug.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for breaking away from your busy schedules.
Yeah.
This is the Afib episode. We're talking all things Afib.
Right on, man. Atrial fibrillation for did I say that right? We do have a doctor on staff.
Yes.
Although we want to make it very clear
disclaimer.
that there is no medical advice being given here. And I mean that in all sincerity. We don't want to claim that we know anything about anything. You're an ear, nose, and throat guy.
But I've had atrial fib.
Right. That's the whole point, right? All of us.
All four have
We
had
are all
some form of an episode, and it's important to share those experiences.
I totally. And what do we share in common? It's obvious, I think, for anybody that's watching on YouTube. We're old guys, primarily, right? And I know
These guys are older.
Right, way older.
Yes,
easy.
Mark's actually 6 hours older than me.
That's true. Same birthday.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Our moms were in the same OB ward together at in North Omaha at Emmanuel.
Yep.
Well, where were you born?
I was born at Methodist.
Okay. You.
The old Methodist hospital.
Yeah,
a month before you guys, apparently, because I'm October.
Yeah.
So
we're the same exact age.
I'm the old man. You guys are exactly the same age, and you're 61.
I'll be 61 in a month.
61 in a month. No shit, I need to get you some. I said it. Sorry, Mom. I apologize. Sincerely, I apologize.
There we go.
I just need to get you a gift.
Well,
While you're
I'll be here all week.
Fantastic. Well,
hey, wait, quick story. So, John, great basketball player.
This is a table full of two great basketball
don't
players.
interrupt him. I gave him a card to read about me.
John went to Valley View, the dominant Valley View
I remember.
junior high. I went to Arbor Heights. This is ninth grade. I've told this story 100 times to you, but we were playing basketball and playing against Valley View, and I was, I think, the last scorer on the team for the year. I had like 3 points total for the whole season. I get in the game, and I get a crucial rebound. And I have a tendency to panic
when you touch the ball.
When the ball touches me. And I get the ball, and I do one of these things, and I hear, Hasebrook! And I turn, and I shovel the ball to whoever said Hasebrook, and it was Flug. And he puts in the bucket right away.
And they win.
And they win, and he laughs all the way down the court.
I don't necessarily remember that, but I do remember lining up in football. And then Hasebrook's across the line from me. And he goes, hey, John. And here we're all nervous about this big showdown with Arbor Heights.
The big rivalry.
Yeah, and I just remember he had the Kansas City Chiefs face mask, and I was thinking, where'd he get the cool face mask?
Right.
He had the double bar one.
The rich kids.
Yeah.
Go to Westbrook. You want to see some face masks.
All right. Sorry, I digress.
No, that's fantastic, man. Those are
Point
great
is, we've
memories.
known each other a long time.
A long time. I do want to make one announcement before we get started with the information. Bike with Mike, a fundraiser specifically for mental health, is taking place tomorrow. What's the name of the Wabash Trace?
Wabash Trace, yep.
Oh, yeah, it's right here. Wabash Trace. Sorry, guys. This is something that you and I have been doing for quite a while. It's the Kudelac family has sponsored this, and you're good friends with the Kudelacs.
Love it.
It is a fundraiser for mental health. They've added a new family.
Yep, the Horgan family.
Family. They are also participating this year. So if you are interested in supporting mental health issues, if you want to just contribute some money, if you want to come and ride, we'll be there tomorrow. It's a great event.
What time?
Registration starts at 9 at the trailhead of the Wabash Trace Trailhead over in Council Bluffs.
What date? Because I don't know.
It's tomorrow.
June 1st.
It is June 1st, and so we'll ride for about an hour. We stop at, what's the place
in
called?
Mineola.
Stop down in Mineola at Toby Jack's, eat some tacos, and then hop back on a bike and ride 10 miles back.
What's the website? Bike with Mike?
It's called Bike with Mike Day.
BikeWithMikeDay.com.
BikeWithMikeDay.com. So go there and give some. I can't read it on Fletch's screen because the screen is cracked.
It's an Android. Yes, but this is a
like
great event.
Seventh graders phone.
Well, my wife just gave it to me. It's my first one. So.
BikeWithMikeDay.com.
Yeah, this is really fantastic. This is worthy of your time and money. So
Definitely.
check it out.
Cool.
Let's get on to Afib, man. So we have come to realize, I think, that we each have Afib. Dave and I are, it's kind of a familial thing with us because it's been hereditary. And then when I mentioned it to John, and John mentioned that he had it, and then you shared with me recently that you have experienced it. So I think this is something that's, you are a doctor.
Yeah, very common.
It's very common, is it not?
More than you realize.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I was reading something about maybe 12 million people have Afib, something, or that's what they estimate, perhaps, and I'm sure it goes underreported, probably.
Right.
But this is a common thing, so we're not getting medical here, but can you just talk about what Afib is, basically?
Yeah. Well, your heart obviously is a pumping chamber to move blood, and so 4 chambers, the 2 top chambers are the receiving area of the heart. They receive blood, and the 2 bottom chambers are pumping it out to the lungs and to the body. And so there's an amazing electrical system that goes through the heart to keep the heart moving in a rhythm, because the pump function doesn't work if it doesn't move coordinated. Mm-hmm. And so if you take a single cell from the heart in a lab and put it in a gel dish, it will pump on its own. A single cell or a group of cells will just pump on their own, but that would not be coordinated. And so when the top of your heart has a little pacemaker called the sinus node, based on the sine wave that it prints out on an EKG, I believe. And so that's kind of the pacemaker that sets the tone or the rhythm for your heart. And so if that in atrial fib, there's a problem with the rhythm because the little circuits that travel through from the superior part of your heart to the lower part of your heart get uncoordinated, or the signal is disrupted for some multiple reasons. And so you the top of the heart has to be squeezing to squirt blood into the bottom of the heart, which is the big muscular part of your heart, and then it will squeeze hard and put it out to your body. And so it's supposed to be top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. And if it starts, and the fibrillation means that the circuits aren't working very well, so it just starts to kind of wiggle or tremor. And then kind of like if you've ever had a cramp, you watch the muscles in your arm or the muscles in your leg or calf and just kind of like twitching like that. That's what's called. And so you no longer have that pump function of the top part. Well, the bottom, the ventricles will still pump, but they don't have rhythm. They're like the white guy on the dance floor. They don't have any rhythm.
Here we go.
So you've lost the nice rhythm.
The coordination is
and
gone.
so now the bottom part will pump on its own, but it will pump 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or maybe just go real fast, over 100 beats per minute. And so you've lost the efficiency of your heart. And so now you're still pumping blood, but the efficiency, the pump function has gone so far down that your blood pressure is typically going down and then back up and then down, back up. And
it is a weird sensation.
You'll kind of feel it, and it can make you lightheaded, and it can cause a lot of problems.
Well, so what's your story, man? I mean, this is something that's relatively new to you. We're all going to share our experience, but
yeah, it was new to me because I didn't even know what it was.
What did you experience?
And I had worked out one morning and did my sauna, did my cold plunge, did my whole thing. I was walking upstairs and kind of saw stars a little bit, and I thought, well, that's weird. And then I just got lightheaded and had to stop and stood there for a bit and almost thought I was going to faint. But I felt the fluttering in my heart and couldn't catch my breath. And then all of a sudden my Apple Watch said, you're in Afib.
No shit.
And I thought, what? Yeah. I said, what? I don't even know what this feature was. And so then I looked up all the little things I could do, and I sat down, and I was like, I could actually measure this. It's like a little ECG.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and it said Afib. Wow. Of course, then I'm Googling, well, what is Afib? I don't even understand this. And I did it like 20, 30 different times, and it was just consistent. And I had it for like 3-4 hours. And so I called my doctor, and I said, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to send you these readings. He goes, damn, you better get in here. Let's take a look. So he straps me up and does the measurement. He said, yeah, you've got Afib. Now, he said, here's the deal. I mean, typically someone who's in pretty good shape and takes care of themselves, this will correct itself, but we'll give you Xarelto. Is that the medicine? I think. Yeah.
That's a blood thinner, yeah.
Yeah, he said, I'm just going to give you that first because we're going to thin the blood out. We don't want you to throw a clot, which I didn't know was a concern.
Yeah, that's a big concern, I think. Yeah.
And then let's get you into the heart doctor. Well, they can't see me till July. So it's kind of an urgent thing.
You would think.
Like I was thinking, oh, let's get you in an hour.
Right. I'm just driving right over there, or you're taking me by ambulance or something.
You know, so I don't know.
You've not seen the cardiologist yet?
I have not seen the cardiologist.
Are you still in Afib? Your watch isn't beeping right now.
It just, and then all of a sudden it just stopped.
It stopped.
Yeah,
okay.
It just stopped.
Is that your only experience that you're aware of?
I had one other, but it was because I was severely dehydrated. And I just attribute it to that. But now, it turns out, I'm looking back at my dad's history. He's got a little bit of heart, nothing like this. And my grandfather died of a heart attack. So I'm kind of like, okay.
This may be something to pay attention to.
Yeah. And so that's why I brought it up to you. I was like, God, I had this weirdest thing this morning. And you said, oh, I've had this my whole life.
Yeah, for quite a long time.
And you've lived with it.
I've had, I'm going to defer to Dave and hear his story. But my first episode was when I was 50 in 2010. Jeez. And I was hospitalized for it. But we can talk about that. When was your first experience?
50.
At 50.
And I knew it was coming because Doug had it. And he told me, when you turn 50, you're going to get Afib.
Serious?
Yeah.
And
our mother has it. Our uncle had it. Jack had it.
And mine was a little different. I mean, I had it, and I knew what was going on. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to go to bed, see if it corrects itself. So I went to sleep, got up the next morning, and it had not corrected itself. So went to the hospital, sat in the hospital for a day, waiting for it to go back, or they were going to do the cardio version. And eventually it went back. I thought, okay, went home, called a basketball buddy of mine who at the time sold like heart something. I don't know. He hooked me up with a cardiologist.
Okay.
So I went and saw the cardiologist, but I had it 2 more times the same month. So the cardiologist said, well, this is a bigger deal. We're going to put you on these meds. I don't know what they were. I don't remember. But you had to take them every 8 hours like clockwork. Oh, wow. And it was just such a pain.
I remember you were setting your alarm to get up and take that first dose.
I was getting up early to take the first dose. And it was such a pain that I went back and we talked about the ablation, which I had done, which was the greatest thing I ever did.
Really?
Absolutely.
Can you explain what that is?
So they go in through your groin, like up inside your heart. And I believe, I don't know because I was out, but I think they put you into Afib and find those places in your heart that are triggering those pulses that were incorrect, trying to get you back into sinus rhythm. So, and then they freeze them. So it was, I think it's a 3-4 hour procedure maybe, but it was the greatest thing I ever did because I didn't want to take the pills. It was kind of a hassle. And, knock on wood, it'll be 11 years. I've never been back in Afib. I have other heart issues that we can talk about that I'm going to see someone in July.
Yeah, we should. Absolutely.
But the ablation, for me, I've had friends, lots of basketball friends who've had this, and some have had to go back in for a second ablation. They didn't get it all corrected. But for me,
now you work out, you take care of yourself.
Try to, yeah.
Because I know, Johnny, you're pretty severe into that too. And it's frustrating if you have this condition that you do all the things from a nutrition standpoint, taking care of yourself, working out, and then you got this thing. Yeah. And has it impacted that at all for you?
The impact on me is just hyper aware of what my heart's doing all the time.
Really?
But I had it at 50. I haven't had a drink since I was 50. I haven't had caffeine since I was 50. I haven't had a soda since I was 50. I mean, I lost 50 pounds. I mean, I got way too thin. I mean, I probably went overboard.
But these are the common triggers, right?
These are the common triggers. I mean, I went through Google on what are the triggers and just stopped doing everything on the list, basically. And
because they can't really tell you what your specific trigger is. Right. So you're kind of trying to eliminate the triggers.
I was, and still am. I mean, but I just, you know, you spend 3 nights in the hospital feeling crappy like you do when you're in it, waiting for it to go away, and you'll try about anything to see if you can fix it yourself, and that's what I've been doing.
Good for you.
So a combination of that and eliminating some things, what did you increase? You know, was it more fluids? Was it...
you know, I drink a ton of water.
Yeah.
I try to eat okay. I mean, some things, and John and I have talked, like super cold drinks sometimes will set my heart off, super spicy things. So I try to be, I mean, you can't cut all that out of your life, but I try to be aware of, this, you know, this might be a little dicey.
Yeah.
But yeah, just, I mean, my lifestyle has certainly changed, probably for the better.
For the better, right.
Truthfully.
But yeah, I just.
So this is genetic? This is something in your family?
It's in our family.
You guys just said, okay, 50 is when it starts, or?
Well, that's when it hit me.
That's when it hit
and
him.
I just suggested it, and our mother has dealt with it. She has a pacemaker. I'm not going to share all of her medical history, of course, but she did have a pacemaker, and our Uncle Jack, her brother, had it. And we have, on our side, the Fletch side of the family, there's a lot of heart issues. So there is some concern. I mean, we have exceeded the lifespan of our father and our grandfather. So
Wow, is that right?
we are
by a long shot.
Yeah, we are much older than our predecessors.
Yeah.
So we're kind of, you know, I mean, it's kind of an interesting challenge. What am I going to do about this, you know? I mean, you don't want to go through it again if you don't have to.
Right.
What about you, man? I mean, when I mentioned it to you, you'd already experienced it. You were familiar. So
And
when did it happen to you?
I think, you know, sometimes it scares you. And if it scares you into lifestyle changes that needed to be done anyway, then great, use it that way.
That's probably
For
good.
sure.
Right.
As a physician, sometimes we'll do that. It's like, hey, you know what? You better probably quit smoking. You better start, you know.
Right. Absolutely.
And so, and those things do contribute. But I think people are more prone to this type of thing as we get older. It's not like I don't think there's a genetic component to it as far as I know. But I think as you get older, you know, just like things start to kind of break down. We have less functioning neurons. We have we get osteoporosis. All these things start to happen, and your heart can start having issues because it's such a complex. I mean, there's so many complex organism, you know, or organ systems going on that. But I think, like ischemic heart disease, you know, where the blood vessels to the heart aren't bringing enough oxygen to the heart muscle itself. That can be related to atrial fib, but that's not usually. I don't think that's usually the most common one. And so that's like rhythm problems are kind of a different thing.
Okay.
And so, like in me, I was out digging in the yard, hot day, came in, had a cold glass of orange juice, and then one of my daughters came and, you know, fell asleep on my chest. And I remember thinking, oh, get off me. You know, this is really, I'm feeling it. And it wasn't pain, but it was like, I felt like I just got done running a race. You know, it's like, wow, I'm kind of uncomfortable. This is sort of like I feel when I just got done working out, you know. And then I thought, oh, I got atrial fib, you know, because my grandma had atrial fib, never treated it. She lived to be 101.
Wow.
You know, so you don't necessarily die from atrial fib, but the main thing is you can develop a clot. Because if you know, the upper chambers, if they're just sitting there moving like this, blood's not really emptying very efficiently because it needs to squeeze and then really fill up those ventricles and then squeeze it back out. So if it's not getting that, they call it the atrial kick, you know, where it really squeezes. And so if the blood's sitting there, well, what does blood do if it doesn't move?
Just starts to coagulate, right?
Yeah. And so there's kind of a specific part of one of the top chambers that tends to kind of collect blood in there. And so that will make a clot then. And so, but after a while, maybe a little piece of that clot will kick off into the circulation and get pumped out and go to your brain, you know, where the circulation gets smaller there, and then suddenly you got a stroke.
Right.
Or into your lung, and you get a pulmonary embolism. And so those are the major dangerous things, and those don't usually happen, but they do take it seriously. Like, I don't think you have to be in a huge hurry to see a cardiologist. Your doctor was right. She's like, oh, let's just make sure we don't have a catastrophe here.
Right.
And then when you have time, because most of it's going to be, you know, again, you don't have a whole lot of risk factors to change. And it's not really a genetic thing.
Okay.
But I think caffeine was the one. Like, I can't even now, if I forget and have a Coke, or even a cold drink if I've been like, or if I go out and run when it's cold out and I didn't warm up enough, I'll flip into atrial fib.
Really?
And then it's like, oh, dang it. You know, it's like, I'm in atrial fib. And so,
And what do you do then?
Well, I do things that the general person, I shouldn't be recommending.
Right. You're not recommending these things. What do you do?
I notice, like sometimes coughing. It's almost like giving yourself a precordial thud will make it like, oh, there it goes. Now it's back in. Or I'll get on the treadmill and sprint.
Interesting.
And not that you should do this, but
not
my
medical
heart rate goes
advice.
up so fast then that it's forced to go back, in my opinion. And again, I don't want to tell anybody else to do that, but then it always just goes back into, they call it sinus rhythm.
Right.
If you get it going fast.
That nice coordinated rhythm.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, man, because I listen to these podcasts. So in preparation for this, I've been listening to a lot of Afib podcasts, and one of the doctors that was discussing this said that same thing. I have patients that will sprint to kick themselves out of Afib. He goes, and we do not recommend that.
Yeah.
But in these individuals, it works. I've never heard anyone say that in person, but that's an interesting comment.
But as a physician, you do things different. You kind of it's like, I'll figure this out. Because one of my buddies, I saw him in the doctor's lounge. Hey, he goes, oh yeah, you're an atrial fib, and we got to put you on some medication, and then and I'm like, yeah, and a blood thinner.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was playing hockey 2 nights a week.
Right.
I thought, okay, I'm not playing hockey. And I can't play hockey with this. It's like, let's call that Plan B with the blood thinner. I'm going to see if I can figure this out.
Right.
And then sure, it'll usually go away within a few hours or maybe overnight. And I just had it like 3 weeks ago. Did you? Because I had a Coke.
Interesting.
And I should, and a cold Coke.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it's like, how do I forget this? It's like, and I flipped right into it.
I think I called you or texted you one night for an ENT issue, and you were at like a UNO hockey game, or told me you were, and drank a Coke.
Yes.
Went into it at the hockey game.
Yeah.
Kicked yourself because you had the ice cold Coke.
No kidding.
So
it's just like, it's just irritability of the heart. Just kind of gets irritable, and then now I flipped it into a.
But you have a mechanism for getting yourself back out that typically works for you.
Yeah, I've had it so often that it's like I don't panic at all about it, because I don't want to take blood thinners and I don't want to take medication for it.
Right.
And maybe if it gets to the point where I can't get out of it on my own, I will definitely have to do something.
Right.
I could do an ablation, something like that.
Right. And you get kind of tacky once in a while, which is is that the reference for a higher heart rate?
So that's the remaining heart thing I have is I will go into tachycardia. I've seen a doctor. We've narrowed it down to atrial flutter or SVTs. So ventricular tachycardia.
Which is just basically saying the top part of your heart goes fast.
Yeah,
or irregular.
So I will just
it's kind of the same family.
And for no reason, my heart will race like in the 140s, and it may go for 2 seconds. It may go for 5 minutes. And I've tried every time it happens now. For the last several months, I've got a little book where I'll write down what was I doing, what did I eat, what did I drink,
what triggered it,
what triggered it. But I can't find a way to make it stop. It just kind of stops on its own, and you go right back into sinus rhythm.
What role does breathing play in this? Control
could be a lot.
Breathing,
because the nerves that go to your heart also control some of the lung function in your diaphragm, the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve, man.
And so that's why I think I've just put it together with, like, if I have a cold drink, that stimulates my esophagus, which is right next to your heart. And so then that must do it, or someone sitting on me, when the kids would sit on me, I was like, oh, I can't do this, you got to get off, because it's flipping me into atrial fib.
Yeah.
And and then if I had caffeine before, it's like, okay, then I'm definitely going to
that's interesting, man. So I'll share some. So it may not be apparent, but my trigger seems to be overeating, and I think it is a vagus nerve issue.
Okay.
I ate 2 boxes of Wheat Thins one night sitting on the couch, and I kicked myself into AFib.
Is this where we cut into the video of you eating in the dark?
I mean, there's crumbs
on the couch?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that in jest. When I first had AFib in 2010, I was sitting at that little barbecue place off of 114th and Center.
Yeah.
You remember that? Just a little bit south of Center Street. That was that little one tucked back there, barbecue place. I was having lunch with a colleague. I had a big mound of like mashed potatoes and hot beef and stuff, maybe 4 pounds of it. Going for the record, And I started getting this weird tunnel vision. I started getting a little sweaty. And I took my pulse, and it was really erratic. It wasn't fast, but it was like bop, 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 bop. And I knew that's not right. I mean, I took an anatomy class once, you know. I knew that wasn't right, so I excused myself and said, hey, look, man, I got to go. And I drove over to the Lakeside Emergency Room, and I'm waiting behind some lady that's talking about her bunions and stuff, you know, and I'm like, I don't mean to be rude, but I think I'm having a heart attack. And they just, you know, the bells started going off, and they ran me into the back and Afib.
Yeah.
And I was in the hospital for 3 days.
Really? What's that?
Waiting for it to convert or revert back into normal rhythm.
Yeah.
And they gave me meds and stuff. And
was that the trigger then? The food?
I'm guessing for me, it is whatever that irritation to your vagus nerve is, that esophageal irritation. But I got cardioverted back into rhythm.
And what happens in Vegas stays there.
That's exactly right. It appears to be for me. So they had to shock my heart back into rhythm, which is the cardioversion. So they did the transesophageal echo to make sure I didn't have clots in my atria. They give me propofol first, which I highly recommend.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, they put you out. They do the echo to make sure there are no pools of blood in your atria. Then they shock it. And we went right back into the rhythm. And now I've had a few other episodes, but I've been able to control it with they gave me kind of an anti-arrhythmia medicine.
And what does that do?
That when I get into this arrhythmia, I can take this medicine, I lay down like you described, I kind of rest, and then it usually converts back in.
And that's completely opposite of getting on a treadmill and
Complete opposite.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sprint anyway. That's not within my capabilities. But
that wouldn't be recommended for the average person. And I'm not recommending doing that.
No. I get it. I'm just saying.
But you're like a world-class sprinter. Talk about your world records and stuff.
We talked about. We're not going to talk about me, all right?
Okay, right.
Just what I wrote for the card for Mark.
Okay.
But the key is, I think what we've all found is that you go out and there's just this broad array of advice, and it becomes a little bit of experimentation. I mean, there's some medical, like, okay, we know specifically what to do, but day-to-day living, I think what we're saying, you can live with it. And it is a condition, though, and it's something to be aware of. And like I didn't know. I'd even thought about caffeine being such a trigger.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm over-caffeinated, and that might be something that people are sitting there reading or listening to this and saying, maybe, gosh, I didn't realize I'm in my 60s or 70s, and I want to have go gentle into the night, but I don't want to have this as an issue.
Right.
And so I guess, we'll have a variety of resources in the show notes for everyone, but I think the key is, you get a baseline, you understand what triggers it, and then write that stuff down. I think that's really good advice.
And this device, actually, the research that I've done, a lot of them have mentioned it's an Apple Watch, I guess, or an iWatch or something.
Apple Watch, yeah.
Apple Watch. But it does, it's a useful tool.
They laughed at it when it first came out, and now my doctor's like, no, this is
the
good
real
stuff.
deal.
they've really come a long ways.
And I don't know anything about those little portable EKG or ECG devices, or are those the real deal? Or
well, I don't think so. When they take an EKG, they put 12 leads on you, which is looking at your heart from different directions, and then they can kind of see things. Those little things, they call them an ECG monitor, EKG, and they say it can tell what your heart rate is and your rhythm. It's like, well, you can tell what your heart rate is.
Right.
You can tell what the rhythm is. You don't need an expensive. I always kind of think that's kind of seems like it's a little bit
not necessary.
Misleading. It's not like a medical grade EKG that they can say, oh, you've got right bundle branch block on this little tracing,
right?
And this is what we're gonna do, or you have a supraventricular tachycardia or something like that. You need to see your doctor about that, and don't follow our boneheaded.
And if you are experiencing any of these symptoms or you're concerned, see your doctor, right? We're not suggesting that you try these remedies, but there are a number of things that once you've had this diagnosis, or there are things that you will adaptively find. When I was first going through this, I have a good friend, Scott Shermer. He's a cardiologist. He was at UNMC here in Omaha at the time, and while he didn't treat me in the ER, I went to him afterwards, and he was like, Fletch, if you notice your heart racing, you might be dehydrated. I think dehydration can contribute to this. So, Dave and I we were chugging Gatorades or something if we were, and just give it a little time. Maybe that's a vagus nerve thing. Maybe it's
electrolyte thing.
An electrolyte imbalance.
Yeah.
We drink, we've talked about this. I drink a little salt water, that LMNT, the electrolyte drinks.
Yep.
But I'm sure that you can overdo those and throw your electrolytes out of balance the opposite way. Yeah. So I'm not recommending anything, but maybe it is dehydration.
These things are great. I just did it here, and it says I'm in sinus rhythm. I've got a 66 beats per minute. This ECG does not show signs of AFib. It can't check for heart attack, blah, 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 but it's a one indicator. That's it. And it leads to other things that I was amazed. The first time that I had an AFib that the cardiologist said, send me all this stuff. I just want to see the pattern, and then we'll do the EKG, and then we'll do the other things.
Deep dive into it.
Yeah, exactly. And so
interesting.
It's a tool.
Well, you have a cardiologist? Do you see a cardiologist?
I don't have a doctor.
You don't have a doctor at all?
Dr. Heal.
You have a cardiologist. I have a cardiologist.
My cardiologist, I don't know if you in the paper, but Dr. Lataha, he was riding his bike out west and got hit and killed.
Oh, my God.
That was my cardiologist. And I was devastated for a week because this was my guy. I live in Denver, and I would drive back once a year to see this guy. He's the one that did my ablation, and I trusted him with all things heart. And he was just a great guy and so bright.
Yeah.
So after that happened, I was without. Yeah. I have found a guy in Denver. I actually have an appointment on July 2nd. But I was looking for an EP, an electrophysiologist, because I know my issue is with the wiring in my heart.
Sure.
I've had echoes done and EKGs, and I don't think I have any valve issues.
All of those
anything.
are fine, yeah.
So I'm going to see this guy in July, and he's kind of the guy as far as these SVT ablations, or there was like a sinus something ablation that he has done. So I just want to see the guy because I don't know that it impacts my lifestyle, but I'm always thinking about it.
It's confidence.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if I can get another ablation and fix this, I'll do it that day. I mean, I just, Doug and I used to go ride our bikes a ton, and I'm always just in the back of my mind thinking, what if I'm 20 miles from home and all of a sudden I go into tachycardia? And, Lataha, when I had talked to him about it, had told me, it's probably not going to kill you. Again, this is just, and everything I've read, but super annoying. I mean, when your heart's beating in the 140s for some period of time, it's like you're, sprinting for a long time. So it kind of wipes you out. So, I want to get back to the stuff that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to get this behind me so I can do that.
It's about longevity, and we just all want that.
Yeah.
I don't think you shouldn't panic about it. I wouldn't, because any situation you're in, if it stays, you're smart enough to, I need to go see somebody, because they'll give you a medication to control your rate immediately. So it's not like you have to live in fear and not do things about it. But again, learn your triggers. If sprinting makes you worse, or if working out, if doing heavy bench press stimulates it, then you got to kind of work around. Just like anything we do now, as older guys.
Right.
You're constantly injured.
Right.
You're always working around.
That's it.
Changing your workout to do something else, and you got to expect it. And because some of these treatments are not a cure-all for atrial fib. It's like when we see people that have their ears ring. It's like, okay, well, you don't really have a lot. That's not going to, And so they can treat it successfully in a lot of cases, but not always. So you kind of be dealing with it. And so I just add that to your list of things that.
Right. And a huge thing for me, a huge thing for me will just be, tell me that I'm going to be fine. I mean, you can read Google all day long, but I think part of my problem is when I go into this tachycardia, then I start thinking, all right, get out of this, get out of this, which makes it worse. So
that stress contribution.
Absolutely. So I just, want this guy to say, yep, this is what you've got, and this is what you can try to do, or this is what we can do. Yeah. But
I think the only catastrophe is a blood clot, and so you don't want to stay in atrial fib, because then your risk of having a clot, it starts to go up.
Right.
And the longer it's there, well, it's like you need to deal with that, like you're doing, and then
is there a risk to being on blood thinners for too long?
I'd have to relay that. I'd talk to your internist.
Yeah. I'm just curious, because sometimes they say take a baby aspirin.
Yeah.
And
you
I
guys
take one
do
every
that?
day.
I have taken aspirin on and off over the last
You do
15
that?
years or so.
No. Okay.
I do.
I chew up a baby. I mean, usually I run out and then forget about them for 6 months and then think, oh, maybe I need to, so then I take them again or
You
something.
can't run out of baby asprin.
Yeah. There's 700 in the bottle.
Right.
There's a
Well, I
bottle.
just chew them up by the handful. I'm not a moderation guy. Really.
Cover yourself for the week.
That's right.
Just eat
Yeah.
7
No,
at a time.
They're like $3, and there's at least 7,000 in a bottle. It's impossible. It's like Blistex. You can never run out of it.
But I do drink alcohol. I try to limit my alcohol. That was something Shermer suggested.
Limit it.
2 drinks, Fletch. No more than 2 drinks. And so that's something, you just get bigger containers, unfortunately, but that's something that I've tried to adopt, and I've tried to limit my caffeine. I still drink caffeine. I do know that overeating, which is something that I do a lot, unfortunately, but that is one of my triggers. Whatever that does to me, I'm just a habitual overeater, and so I've really struggled with that. That is probably my biggest trigger. I do a lot of breathing stuff. I do a lot of controlled breathing techniques. If I feel funky, like something's happening, I will sit down and do some controlled breathing. I do some of those vagus nerve manipulations. There are a number of different things that you can try to do to reset your vagus nerve.
Like splash water on your face.
Cold water on your face.
Yeah.
You're having a bowel movement, that contraction or something. And I do the one where I know this is freaking you out, man.
The one where you look way over.
I do the one where I take my eyes way over here, and then it makes you yawn or something.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I reset my vagus nerve that way pretty regularly.
So that's been your trick, because I know we've been so proud of how far these guys have come from high school.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, we have.
It's to the point where, with what Doug's accomplished. And then, Mark was always, always in trouble with the authorities.
Well,
That's he's become an author and an authority
long
now.
way, yeah. Now, when you're looking way over here, is it hard to get the fork into the 3 pounds of mashed potatoes if you're not seeing it?
Well, see, that's the whole point. If I look way over there, then I don't get
You stick the potatoes into your
big
cheek.
enough bites. Oh, my God. Yeah, man.
Do you guys meditate? You ever tried meditating?
I have tried
I just think
guided
it's something
meditation.
our generation either laughs at or doesn't do or tries to do, but the monkey brain kicks in.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if that's something, because I'd run across a couple of things like, look, we all just need to calm down. And meditation is the way to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. I've tried it, and 4 seconds into it.
Yeah.
I have a hard time not thinking. Or you start thinking about, don't think about anything. And then you're thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
I try to do in the morning, I get up early. Since I'm in Denver, Mountain Time, but I work for an Omaha company still, I start work pretty early to try to align to Central Time. But up until this week, I try to get up every morning and do 30 minutes on the Peloton and 30 minutes of yoga every morning.
Very good.
And that kind of, I'm not flexible at all. I can barely bend over and touch my knees, but it's the breathing aspect. I think it calms me.
No doubt.
I'm trying everything I can to be heart healthy, I guess.
That's good. You're a morning exercise guy. Morning exercise.
Yeah.
Are you a morning exerciser?
Are you going to buy the car like he's got?
I already got one.
He's got the
Easy now.
hatchback.
He's got one of those.
You're doing yoga now. You're driving hatchback, and you're
Right.
Oh, it's
I'm
super.
the tree
man
hugger
bun
guy.
is next.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
Just absolute pine cone eater.
Yeah, that's right. No, man. I do a little bit of. I'm not sure it's meditation. My friend Andrew Huberman. I don't know if you listen to Huberman occasionally on the YouTube or the podcast stuff, but I have started doing that. He doesn't describe it as meditation necessarily, but he talks about calming your body. So finding a relaxed position, seated or laying or something, and while you don't shut your mind off, he just relax your body, focus on your breathing. 10 minutes of that. I do it more because I don't sleep extremely well, and I know sleep is really critical. And so he is suggesting that this practice of calm body, let your mind do what your mind does, but control your breathing and focus on that is beneficial to maybe not getting that full night of restful sleep that you would like. So
that's a whole other topic is
really
sleeping.
so I'm trying to add that into my routine, and I like it. I focus on my breathing. I can do that for a little while, but I've tried the meditation. I've tried guided meditation where Sam Harris is, feel your feet against the floor.
Yeah.
Shut up.
And I'm like, who the hell is that? You know,
Stop talking.
That's right. So I don't meditate particularly well either, man.
No,
but it's something.
It is. there's people that
try it.
absolutely swear by it, and
Absolutely.
they say it's controlled, my anxiety. It's controlled my outlook. I'm way more positive, and all of this.
Right.
I just think it's a generational thing that really is a behavioral change for a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
I have not succeeded at it at all.
But you do
it
so many
doesn't
other
mean-
things. You do a lot of things really well, though, man. I mean, you are consistently doing the sauna, the cold plunge, the exercise. I mean,
I try to.
You do a lot of things
just
well.
because it makes me feel good. I tried meditating in the sauna this morning. And it was just,
And almost drown, or what
it was a
happened?
mess. Well, no,
What do you
then I
think?
went into the cold plunge. The funny thing, and John, get your thoughts on this too, is the cold plunge impact on the heart.
Right.
Because I go from exercise to the sauna.
I would not do that.
No,
And
That
then-
would freak you out.
I wouldn't
No,
get out
no,
of it.
Set you
that would
off.
slip you in. You'll have an immediate. I think that it's called the diving reflex.
Yeah.
If you go into cold water, it immediately can change your heart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would never do that because I'd go right into it.
You'd go into it,
Yeah.
because my heart rate out of the sauna is in the mid 80s to low 90s. So you're relaxed.
Yeah.
But it's that fight or flight of hitting
Yeah.
because it's
Right.
56 degree water, and so your heart rate goes like this, and then it gets down into the mid 40s.
Yeah.
After you've
bizarre.
adjusted to the cold.
Yeah, it's 2 minutes of hell,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you get into this euphoria.
Do you wear the watch when you do that? Are
Yeah.
you able to wear the
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you can
Yeah.
actually
Yeah, and then
see what's
'cause
happening to your heart?
And I don't know the medical reasoning behind it, but it's sort of like there's that initial like I'm going to protect
Yeah.
everything, and then all of a sudden you just feel this calm.
Yeah.
I
Do you
wouldn't
see a
need the
white light
watch.
or anything? Like, is there?
Is there what?
Do you see white light at the end of that 40 when you're down at 40?
No,
beats
the
per
Care
minute?
Bears are always there
Okay.
talking to me. I just have hallucinations. No, it's just it's. But I just wonder if I'm doing way too much, and expecting too much out of this because
I would ask your cardiologist. I
Yeah.
would go through your routine and see what
Yeah.
he or
Yeah.
she thinks.
Yeah.
I'd be careful about that. But caffeine and jumping in cold water. And,
I could see what my heart was doing because I'd see it through my chest. I wouldn't need the watch.
but I
No
think there
doubt,
are.
man.
The more you read, like you guys are very well read, and so you take everything with a grain of salt. And you
Certainly.
can always bounce it off your doctor. But there's so many areas that we don't know everything either.
Yeah.
And so. But I think that jumping in cold water would be a little bit risky for if you have heart rhythm issues.
Yeah.
Right. If I jumped into cold water with like a triple cheeseburger or something, probably that would set me off.
Well, I do think that the interesting thing about as we get older is you don't care about people's opinion as much.
Right.
True.
And I don't really know, and so I'm not afraid to do my own workout,
Right.
no matter how stupid it looks. And it's like, okay, look, I can't bench press like that anymore, so I'm not. I'm going to do this and do my own thing and experimenting with things. I think that's what makes it so much fun as you're going through this journey of life. It's like, okay, I'm going to try to make next year better. And I know I'm slowly aging and things are going downhill, but I'm going to continue to try to do things I want to do and just practice those things.
You have to be
And you're
somewhat
gonna hit-
adaptive, right?
Yeah, and you're going to hit so many hurdles in that, it's like, oh, shoot, my neck or, my back or my elbow or, my Achilles tendon, you know. So now I'm going to be switching to doing this now. I was like, now I'm going to go back to swimming for 3 months, or whatever.
That's
So
a
you're
great
also
comment,
trying to
John.
work around these things to get, because just get used to it. We're all heading we're all going to end up in the same place. And so just keep trying to get to the better
doubt.
place because you want to be a tool for the people you love.
Right.
And so it's like, all right, let's keep this tool working.
That's a great description of it, man.
It is.
Thank you for that.
That's excellent.
Because Mark says that all the time. We want to live a quality life. We want to enjoy our family and our friends and those things. You want to be in a good enough shape mentally and physically to enjoy those things. You've got grandkids now, and so we want to be there for that. And so I think, curiosity and a willingness to try different things and adapt is really critical to that.
Advocate for yourself because a lot of these treatments that they might prescribe, they just treated someone who's 250 pounds overweight,
Right.
and has had heart issues, and their whole family's had heart issues, and
Right.
and so they're they're saying, well, this is what you're going to do, because that's what works for the middle 20% of the whole population. And you're kind of out here.
Yeah.
Saying, well, I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear you. I'll factor all of that in. But, I think with a lot of medicine, you just have to just say, okay, I get it, but let me understand the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What else is out there that I could do?
There's a lot that goes into it. It's a fascinating thing. And
Yep.
if you're struggling with this, or you suspect you may be experiencing this from time to time, obviously take everything that we've said with a grain of salt. These are just our personal experiences and what we are doing to try to get, that going down that road as you've described it. Talk to professionals, educate yourself to the extent that you can. And, I think that's the best we can do.
I think the key is you can live a quality life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's not one of those things like, well, that's it.
Yeah, you
There
don't give up.
Yeah.
I bumped into some dude the other day. I was visiting a new client, and it's interesting. The guy that I was walking around with is a big, he's a grown man. He's in his 50s probably, big, strong-looking guy, and we kind of started talking about, and he used to wrestle at UNO apparently, and obviously stays in shape. And our parting comment was just keep fighting back. Don't give in.
Right.
Don't succumb. Just keep doing it. Keep up the fight.
It wasn't gravy, was it?
It was not Big Gravy.
Okay.
No. But Gravy probably. I haven't spoken with him for a while, but he may have a heart issue or two at 5 Bills.
I do think it's a fun project.
It is a fun project.
It's like, all right, I'm going to see, just like I hadn't run for a long time. And so I got back on the treadmill to see, like, okay, what can I run a mile in? And it was way worse than I thought it was going to be. Like, oh, I really can't. But then I thought, okay, I'm going to make this get better. I'm going to kind of start working on this. And then it's just so much fun to watch. It's like, okay, I don't feel that bad now. I can speed it up a little bit. And just watching it happen, but then some injury will come along. I totally switch to something else.
So you do something else.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is kind of fun. I'm going to start doing this again now.
Yeah.
And then watch it. But it's such a slow process.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the part you have to get used to. It's like, all right, this is going to take a month before I notice anything. But just like keep at it.
Yeah, that's great.
That's good advice.
Excellent.
And you can run a mile. Is that?
Did you put it on pause to come here? You started yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish up later today.
Yeah.
But the Peloton's been great for that. I mean, they have so many different workouts.
They do. It's
on and off the bike.
Absolutely. And we use the Peloton app for yoga.
Yeah.
And they have beginner, intermediate, advanced. Obviously, we're in beginner. And they have weight training and, stretching and flexibility and foam rolling.
Yeah.
And, we got it for the bike, but it has so much more. And it just, when you turn it on the TV, it kind of motivates you. I'm going to get on the floor and do this stretching. And
you can do it 10 minutes. You can do it
Absolutely.
2 hours. You
And
can
see,
do whatever.
actually, Dave is sitting cross-legged here now.
Right.
Because
Yes.
he's
I'm not
a
even
beginner,
sitting.
but
Not even on
I'm
the
hovering.
floor.
next
Yeah,
year
that's
he'll be back on the show with a man bun, and he'll be the
will
advanced.
you have me back?
Absolutely, man. We should catch back up and
What's this saying? Namaste. Or,
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste,
Holy
yeah.
cow.
Come on.
Are you kidding me?
We'll talk when we're done.
all
Now
right,
let's get back to the junior high basketball. That's really what we've all come here to talk about.
Yeah,
isn't
Valley
it?
View won that game 8-6.
yeah. Well, I just remember the contrast between these two basketball players here. Now, Dave could basically do any dunk you could imagine. Doug could hit the net with anger. But
I want to hear more about winning a game in junior high because at the Brook we didn't win it.
We went 0 for whatever number of games we played.
0 for my 9th grade year.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, I mean, youth sports is something we're going to probably talk about.
I'd
too,
love to
because
talk
as,
about youth
in our
sports.
60s, you listen to people now say, God, we're just going to Tucson for a tournament, and then we're going to take our kids over here to Oklahoma City and how old's your kid? 9. And
When
there
we were
was
growing up, we were going to
73 games.
Hillside Little League Park.
Put your glove over your handlebars.
Exactly,
If
yeah.
Parents didn't know you were
Right.
playing. You just ride your bike to the game.
Yeah, let us know how you did, honey.
Play the game.
I found a picture of our, I think I was 6th grade, maybe 7th grade, and our summer team, the Cubs, at Sunset.
Sure.
Remember where the Sunset Field was? Rode my bike with my glove. God, you pray to God that the coach brought the bats.
the bag of bats.
Bats. Shut up. Here they are. And our record that year was 4-2.
Not bad,
right.
man.
Yeah, for the whole
Dominant.
summer.
You played 6 games
6
over the
games,
summer.
all summer.
As opposed to the 106 that they play now,
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
It is amazing. That would be a great conversation for all of us, because one of the greatest lessons I ever learned was I was at a game with my brother Dave. We're watching, and I'm, of course, yelling at my kid and criticizing my kid, and Dave looks at me and goes, I don't remember you being all that good. And I was like, immediately like, wow, that was something I needed to hear.
Isn't it crazy how, if you've been through youth sports with your kids,
as we all have,
how irrational your totally rational friends can get over youth sports.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It was probably one of the best messages that I've ever been given, was to, reel it back in a little bit, tough guy.
Yeah.
I watched you throw lots of guys out stealing center field.
Right.
So
that's right, man. Hey, man, I would come up firing, and Jim Hilsendigger would duck out in center field because the ball was flying to the fence, man.
That's like you, and he played first base on our team. You always had to have the big first baseman's glove.
Oh, you could barely lift it.
We had a kid on the team that was left-hander, threw smoke as a young person. Yeah. Had a great curveball, had a fastball that would tail off, things like that. And it was a nightmare, because if someone was on base, Hasebrook would be on base, he'd whip it over. He's a left-hander, whip it over first base, and then it'd be like some knuckleball coming in. So Hasebrook would always laugh how when he'd make the move to first, Hasebrook would just start running toward the fence to go get the ball.
you're going to beat it there.
And he would yell at me, the pitcher, during the game. Hasebrook, God! Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, they'll skip into the fence.
Oh, my God.
Automatic third base.
Those are so funny. Those are wonderful stories.
That's a whole other visit. Yeah.
That's a whole other one. But, the sports thing is really an amazing one. But I love this conversation.
Good,
and
guys.
I'm so glad you guys could come and join us, man.
Thank you.
There are people that are going to listen to this that think, I probably need to get some information about
figure this out. Yeah.
So I appreciate
it's
it.
more common, and there's lots of stuff available, and you absolutely can get through it and live with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool.
No doubt.
There's a lot of stuff online. Always skip down past the ones that say sponsored.
Exactly.
Get down to one that's more like a white paper.
Right. Page 2.
Yeah.
Usually that's where the actual
roll
information
down.
is found.
YouTube. We've got a couple, and I think I might have sent it to you guys to take a look at. We'll post
The
that
link.
up there.
We should do
just
that.
because the guy had a coat on and a stethoscope, I was like, well, right.
He must know what
Halloween
he's talking
party?
Must be legit.
Right.
Got to be legit.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it's helpful anyway.
Yeah.
So, thanks, you guys. Appreciate
Fantastic.
Thanks for
it.
having
This is
us.
wonderful.
Have a great weekend, everybody. We will be back in 2 weeks with another episode.
All right. Let us know. Send us some comments.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right.
Bye-bye.